Hi everyone, my name is Junon. I have a health science background and I'm the author of the book Truth and Empathy, How to Find Your Soulmate. And I'll put a link to the book below. This video is about why about 90% of adults prematurely age. And I know it's a rather bold statement, but I will explain my point of view. I have a nutrition and human kinetics background. I have worked as a health coach and health educator, and I also try to incorporate whatever I suggest to my clients. And what I've noticed is that few people talk about the importance of resting breathing rate for overall health. So what happens is that breathing is what we do more than anything else. So we don't exercise as much as we breathe, we don't eat as much as we breathe, we don't even sleep as much as we breathe, but it's something that is rarely discussed. And what I've noticed over time is that if you know a person's resting breathing rate, you can determine how long they are going to live and the quality of their lives. Not only that is that it will affect their mental health and whether or not they're prone to addictions, but obviously they were going to take all types of substances that are often toxic to medicate themselves. So the first thing I would say to someone who is trying to age normally is to pay attention to how many breaths they take per minute. So it is something that you can easily measure, and actually I'm going to put in the description of this video a link to show you how to properly measure your resting breathing rate. And what happens is that if you look at the studies that have been made, because obviously the scientific method is not that old, maybe a few hundred years old, and when they say they took a group of healthy subjects to test, let's say, a new substance or a new method, I don't know where they actually found these people, because if, let's say, you're trying to find someone who's truly healthy, the first thing you wouldn't have to check is if this person breathes through the nose. And I know that sounds kind of odd, but the vast majority of adults, of people, even children and teens, do not breathe through the nose. They breathe through the mouth. How do you know that you are a nose breather versus a mouth breather? The first thing people can actually notice in terms of the person's anatomy and physiology is that the palate should be almost flat, because a person who breathes through the nose will put their tongue on the roof of their mouth. So in other words, it's an automatic sort of reflex to put it there. And when the tongue is left on the roof of the mouth, is that it's going to shape the jaw, and the roof is going to be flat. There's also going to be enough room so that they have 32 straight teeth. So that would be the first sign to know if someone is healthy. Do they have a flat palate, and do they have 32 straight teeth? And that sign alone will tell you that most people don't fall into that category. And how do you know that this is normal? Is that if you look at the animal kingdom, so you don't see 80% of dogs who squeak with teeth. You don't see any other crocodiles or the species that has the amount of crooked teeth that humans have. The other aspect is that even if a person has, in terms of they're breathing through the nose, is that the resting breathing has to be the right one. So most people hyperventilate because they lead a stressful life and they don't do daily practices, so let's say meditation, tai chi, whatever it is, to reduce the stress. Because what happens is that if your brain waves are fast and incoherent, then it automatically affects your resting rate. So people tend to hyperventilate when they're chronically stressed. So no one should be breathing more than 10 to 12 times a minute. And I think that people should really check the work by Constantine Buteyko. He was a medical doctor, and it was in the 1950s. He actually stumbled on this information, and he actually implemented that, and he saw great improvement in his patients. And also the work by James Nestor. He wrote this book about a year ago, titled Breath, The New Science of the Lost Art, and even the work by Patrick Mckeown. He's a breathing expert. I mean, in terms of he trains people how to breathe properly. So you can go on YouTube and find this information, type their information, and you'll see what I mean. And I'll put some links also about these people. I think it's very important. So if you don't have these characteristics, most likely you're not let's say, reaching your full potential in terms of your health. And if I just look at myself, is that, for example, most people, when they meet me, in person, they think that I'm younger than my years. And also, it's true that, I'm Black, obviously, and most Black people look about 10 years younger than their age. So yes, I look about 10 years younger. I'm like 49. I'm going to be 50 years old in about 4 months. And most people, think I'm younger than that. But I think that it's not so much about looking younger, because people can go and get a facelift. But the fact that you pull the skin and remove the wrinkles doesn't mean that the person is actually healthy. And I think that this is very important to know, that when we talk about breathing, is that breathing affects every cell of a person's body. And most people are not aging normally. It's really slow asphyxiation that is happening now. So I would say that based on my observations, is that the average person will live, let's say if your person breathes 15 times a minute, they will live to about 85 years old. But the human body, if let's say you're properly oxygenated, could easily live up to like 120 years old. So really, when you talk about being middle age, it'd be like 40 years old, because we expect the person to die in their early 80s. But it's not really the case in terms of like how the body was designed. The body was designed to live a lot longer than that. So I would say to people to really pay attention to that. And what happens is that we do promote probably things like meditation, but meditation is difficult for most people, because about 85% of people have a beta brainwave dominance. And to get into a meditative state, you have to go down to alpha. I've been meditating for 28 years, almost 29 years now. And I've realized that, yes, meditation helps, and I do that every day. But what happens is that when we interact with others, we synchronize our physiology with theirs. So most people work outside. I know that with COVID, we are stuck indoors, but we interact with them and they can stress you out, especially if you sleep in the same bed with another person. So if a person is hyperventilating and you sleep near them, you'll see that you start hyperventilating even though you're not stressed about anything. For almost 10 years now, I've been doing energy healings. And what I've noticed is that about 95% of people hyperventilate at rest. And what I've done is that I've created an oral cleansing video, and I'm going to put the link below. So when people watch it, it's basically resets their resting breathing rate to their optimal one. So I say to people, if you want to know the impact of breathing on your overall sense of well-being, watch this oral cleansing video once a day at bedtime and try to, if possible, sleep alone, and then see what happens after even a week. You'll see like a totally different sort of like sense of well-being, the way you're going to look, the quality of your sleep. Normal aging is really about, first of all, making sure that you breathe properly, there's proper nutrition, exercise, if you have to look even in terms of your relationships, proper even sleep. And what happens is that breath is the starting point, because when people hyperventilate, they usually have mental health issues. And I'm going to put in the description of this video a link actually to research that they looked at the percent of people in North America who suffer from mental health issues. It's really high. I mean, we're talking about like the 80% of adults either have anxiety, depression, they have panic attacks, and that's not normal. When I worked as a health coach and health educator, I would tell people to eat proper food, exercise, and so forth. But the person, if they're hyperventilating, it's very difficult for them to adhere to a healthy lifestyle. They will eat refined carbs. And when you think about it, is that you can't gain weight eating real food. So if anyone tells you they're overweight or obese, it's not due to let's say, broccoli or grilled chicken. It has to do with probably cakes, cookies, potato chips, things that are not real food. And it's very difficult for a person to follow a healthy lifestyle long term if they're hyperventilating and also most likely having mental health issues. So what happens is that most people use refined carbs to medicate themselves. So just to demonstrate what normal aging looks like, I mean, doing this video, I decided not to put any makeup on, so there's no filter. Actually, I can go closer and you actually can see my face. There's no makeup. The other thing also is that, yes, I do have some white hair because, you know, everybody ages, but I would say that what is normal aging versus prematurely aging. And I would say that for most people, they're not living up to their genetic potential, and that when you think about the lifespan of a human being, it should be much longer than 80 years old. So I know that this is a controversial topic. Few people talk about it, but I would say that if you want to know how healthy a person is, you have to first look at their resting breathing rate. You have to look at whether or not they're breathing through the nose. They have space for 32 straight teeth. All of this information really points to how oxygenation of all the tissues in the body is key for normal aging. So again, I would say that most people, actually it's just a small percent of people who are truly aging normally. I know this information can be controversial, but I hope that it was interesting. If you enjoyed this video, please click on the like button, subscribe to my channel, and we will talk soon.